AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
Hour 3. Off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
And Mr. Toby Tumpley. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. 5 o'clock quitting time. Glad you are driving home with us. Ross Dellenger in about a dozen minutes from right now. He'll update us on the fraudulent Ole Miss allegations of tampering. And Greg Sankey. Greg Sankey, perhaps a little calendar change to college football. If the SEC commissioner says it, pretty good chance it's going to happen. We'll talk about that with Daly coming up in just a little bit. It was a slow start, I think, by most people's expectations to the portal cycle. As we've kind of chronicled here, the plan was that LSU was going to sort of explode out of the gates with the portal with a handful of Ole Miss players that they were targeting. And Ole Miss beat Georgia, and all those guys didn't enter the portal, and it sort of turned everything on its head. So instead of this first wave of players following Lane Kiffin and staff from Ole Miss, you had a heavy wave of visitors over the first 48 hours. And the commitments, the portal additions have started to come. Jackson Harris, the receiver from Hawaii, was first. As a matter of fact, the first handful were all offensive players. Jackson Harris, running back Racine Guillory, tight end Malachi Thomas, receiver Trey Brown from Old Dominion. And then on Tuesday, the Tigers landed their first couple of defensive commitments, and both of them are potentially really impactful players. Start with Ty Benefield, safety from Boise State. And this was a bit of a calculated risk because, as I understand it from one staff member who told me today, they put all of their eggs into the Ty Benefield basket at safety. And y'all, flip on some YouTube highlights, or just go look up this dude's stats. He is a unit. Ty Benefield has played 3 years at Boise State. He has played in 41 games. 13 games as a freshman where he had 46 tackles. As a sophomore a year ago, 14 games, 82 tackles. And then this year, played in all 14 games with 107 tackles, 8.5 TFLs, and for his career, he's got 5 interceptions as well. 6'2", 210, and just blowing people up. There is a photo that Ty Benefield, apparently goes by Buck. That's what his Twitter bio says, Ty Buck Benefield. He's got a photo of him on the balcony at Lane Kiffin's office, the coach's office. Y'all, Lane Kiffin ain't no small dude. I don't know if you've ever stood next to Lane Kiffin. He's about 6'3", 6'4". Like, Lane Kiffin is a big dude. They've got Ty Benefield listed at 6'2". He's bigger than Lane Kiffin. Look at the photo. He's bigger than Lane Kiffin. So maybe Lane Kiffin is slouching a little bit, or maybe Lane's not actually 6'4". Maybe he's like 6'2", 6'3", I don't know. But maybe Ty Benefield does have like a very large head of hair as well. So maybe that gives you a perception he's a little bit taller. But either way, that dude is massive. Now, you add Ty Benefield to a safety room that includes returning Deshaun Spears and returning to Marcus Cooley. Obviously, A.J. Halsey's on the way out, but you just added arguably the best safety prospect in the portal, depending on what scouting service that you look at. I haven't seen him like lower than 2 as far as safe. So you got one of, if not the best safety prospect in the portal. By the way, this was Spencer Danielson, who of course we all know is the Boise State head coach, talking about Benefield and sort of rating him among the players that he's seen there in the last decade or so.
Ty Benefield is one of the best football players we've had here in my 9 years at Boise State. Any side of the ball, period, end of story. One, because he has an NFL skill set. Long, can run, fit like, yes. But he is an elite practice player. And that's what all the scouts, when we talk about him, and I'm like, just watch him practice. Watch him practice. We go to a walkthrough, Ty Benefield makes every tackle in a walkthrough, right? No plays off, how he trains, how he practices. He lives in that film room because he loves his team and he wants to be the best safety in the country. And I think he's putting on film that he's definitely one of those guys.
If you're not excited about that guy, I'm not sure I can help you, because that coach said in 9 years at Boise State, he's one of the best players we've had either side of the ball. So come on down, Ty Benefield. You should be fired up to have him in the purple and gold. Now, the other defensive player LSU got today is another big-time, high-ceiling player. Stephiylan Green, who's a defensive tackle from Clemson. Now, LSU recruited Stephiylan Green out of high school. He's from Rome, Georgia, and Rome, Georgia, that area's been good to LSU, and that area of Georgia has been good to LSU. But Stephiylan Green, coming out of Georgia, picked Clemson, but now, after his sophomore season, has gone into the portal and has picked LSU out of the portal. So he played against LSU. By the way, I should say he's a redshirt sophomore, so 3 years at Clemson. He played in 2 games back in 2023, so he took a red shirt. And then he's played in 22 games over the last 2 years. So he's got 2 years of eligibility remaining. This was Dabo back in August. So this is like the middle of fall camp, talking about Stephiylan Green.
I would say Stephiylan is a 1. He's had a good camp. Stephiylan is a problem. He's a good football player. Him and Capehart and Peter, if those guys are available every game, they'll have a good season. It's important to them. They're well coached. They're tough. They'll do what they need to do to be productive. By
the way, he had 6 tackles in that game against LSU. Stephiylan Green in the game against LSU back at Clemson in the season opener, he had 6 tackles that day. We're number 90, just a really impactful interior defensive lineman. And when you look at LSU losing Jacoby Guillory and Bernard Gooden on that defensive front, and then some of your younger depth as well, you return Don McKinley. You're excited about some of the younger guys, like returning Brandon Brown and Buddy Mathis, but you need to go fortify the interior of that defensive line. I've said it. I think you're only going to see LSU in this portal cycle take single-digit defensive players. But they got to get a pass rusher. They got to get help at defensive tackle, which they did. They added a safety now with Ty Benefield. You're not going to see him go heavy numbers in the portal. You may only have a handful of players they sign in the portal. But when they have elite-level top-end players in the portal that they can add that are going to be immediate plug-and-play dudes, they're going to get them, especially when you have guys like Stephiylan Green who have multiple years of eligibility remaining, which is one of the sort of consistent themes we've seen so far with what LSU has done in the transfer portal. By and large, and this is something, by the way, that Lane Kiffin did. This is part of their process. This is what he did at Ole Miss as well. Think about a guy like Kejuan Lacey. Started his career at Missouri, goes to Ole Miss, had multiple years remaining. Think about a guy like Trey Harris. They found a dude at Louisiana Tech. We're able to maximize him at Ole Miss. You're looking for they look for guys who have college experience, who have multiple years remaining. A year ago, LSU, they were all in on the 1-year plug-and-play mercenaries. A.J. Halsey, 1-year guy. Monster Delane, obviously, was a 1 year into the pros guy. Jack Pyburn, Jamari Butler, Patrick Payton, Josh Thompson, Berrien Brown. Just look at the list. Bauer Sharp, a bunch of dudes that had 1 year. Was it. They were all in for that year. This is sort of how he's showing you his template to build the roster. It's not going to be with an 18-year-old. It's going to be with a guy that's been in college for a year or two that's already got that experience that then can have multiple years in Baton Rouge. So Stephiylan Green and Ty Benefield, the first two defensive ads, and other defensive ads that will come, you better believe, are going to be elite-level defensive players, as the first two are. All right, it's at the Further Review. We're glad you're hanging out with us here. Tuesday shows are powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Let me knock out a quick break. Come back. Always appreciate we get a few minutes with Ross Dellenger. Two things I want to talk about Delly in particular. One, the tampering allegations with Ole Miss. He broke that story a week ago, and it seems to have advanced now. I'll get Ross's thoughts on that. And then also, could we be seeing a change to the college football calendar after this wacky offseason? We'll talk about all that with Ross when we come back at AFR.
After Further Review.
Get Gordon and get it done. Happy New Year from our friends over at Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. And nobody ever wants to be injured. Nobody ever wants to be in a car wreck. Nobody ever wants to be injured on the job or whatever the case may be. But accidents happen. And if you've been injured in an accident and it's not your fault, you need representation. Don't go it alone. You need representation to make sure you maximize what you get what you are entitled to help restore your life to what it was before the accident that wasn't your fault. And the great thing, one of the many great things about Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys, they have offices all over the state of Louisiana. So no matter where you are in Louisiana, there's a Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys office near you, so you don't have to travel. Whether you're in Baton Rouge, New Orleans, or Alexandria, or Lafayette, or Lake Charles, or Shreveport, or Bossier, or Ruston, wherever you are in the state, there's a Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys office near you. So all you have to do is call 888-8888, 888-8888, 888-8888, or go to getgordon.com. Get Gordon and get it done.
After Further Review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
She thinks my tractor's sexy. It really turns her on. She's always staring at me while I'm chugging along.
All right, Ross Dellenger is going to be here in just a quick second. One just real quick sort of whip around today on all the portal stuff if you haven't been keeping up. As we just talked about, the LSU Tigers did get 3 commitments on Tuesday. Safety Ty Benefield, defensive tackle from Clemson, Stephiylan Green, and then running back Rod Gainey out of Charlotte. So it's 2 running backs now. If you're scoring at home, that's 7 portal additions so far. Just probably about 20, 25 more still to go. The growing list of visitors at LSU. Again, you can keep up with all of this over at LouisianaSports.net. It is free. The roster tracker is right there on the homepage. Today, confirmed Trey Wilson, the Florida wide receiver, is visiting LSU. Carson Gulker, an athlete from Ferris State, tipping back into that pond, is visiting LSU. Minnesota offensive tackle Kali Tafa'e, I reported that earlier today at LouisianaSports.net, and then also Jacoby Jones, who's an offensive lineman from Copiah Lincoln, visiting LSU today. So a few others that are notable. Former LSU Tigers have new spots. Ahmad Bro is signed with Kentucky. Juwan Johnson is now a member of the Syracuse Orange, and Carius Kern with the Ole Miss Rebels, which is a good transition into our conversation with Ross Dellenger because he's the one who broke the story a week ago about potential tampering allegations from Ole Miss, and lo and behold, it's actually Ole Miss that signs an LSU player first. Delly, how are you, man?
Good, Matt. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. You, a week ago, were the first to report about the Ole Miss front office, whatever, administration, sort of building and compiling a potential tampering allegation case against LSU. It seems like a report today from ESPN, they're not going to proceed with that. What, if anything, can you tell us about that whole situation?
Yeah, the whole tampering file, all I reported is that, and it was just based, obviously, on the record statements, was that there was allegations. It was just allegations made by Ole Miss personnel. I suspected that they were creating a potential, file, but I never actually wrote that, and none of them said that. But they certainly said that they, suspected that there was tampering involved the last few weeks. So I don't know what happens from here. As you know, right, not all the assistants have been with the team. All the LSU bound assistants have not been with the team this week. I think just a couple maybe have. So clearly the rest are back in Baton Rouge, which is certainly another part of this interesting story that's unfolded with Ole Miss and LSU in the playoff and Lane Kiffin.
One more quick follow-up. Is there precedent? Again, I'm going to be nondescript about Ole Miss and what may happen with Ole Miss LSU, just generally speaking here when it comes to tampering charges. What is the precedent for schools that have filed tampering charges? Is that even the proper terminology with the NCAA?
Well, not much. I mean, there's not much enforcement of anything going on these days, as you probably noticed. And tampering is something that, while completely widespread and pretty obvious at times, has not really been pursued by the NCAA. And, there's actually some kind of getting the weeds here, but there's actually some disagreement on what entity should be responsible for pursuing tampering. The College Sports Commission, the new enforcement entity that the A5, the Power Conference, has created, or the NCAA. And there's a little disagreement on who should handle tampering. And so thus, in the absence of that, there's really not any enforcement at all for much of anything, let alone tampering.
Yeah, it would be hard to imagine anything coming of that other than just a public smear, but we'll see how that all may develop. What is interesting today is that there's the possibility, I guess, of changes to the calendar. Let's just start 10,000-foot view and then I guess zoom a little bit closer. This has been messy. We all know that. What has sort of been the impetus here for these conversations?
Well, I think maybe Nick Saban said it best on game day last Thursday, and that is that the college football is obviously evolving into more of a professional sort of model, and that it should emulate the professional calendar. The college football calendar should emulate the professional calendar. And so if you do that, that means the NFL has its season and it has its draft, which in college would be signing day. Mm-hmm. And then, the free agency and the off-season summer work. And so if you were to marry the two, together, you would have the signing day move back to February after the season. You would have, quote, free agency, or the portal in college football's case, move to after the draft, March or April or so, maybe. And then you'd have not spring football, but you change it and you'd have summer, they call it summer access, summer workouts and kind of more OTA style access in the summer. So that's sort of what I think in the end we'll probably see some semblance of that eventually out of college football. They've changed the calendar and they've done this examination, for the last 10 years, and they've changed and tweaked this and that over the years. But they usually take one piece and change it, and then that affects other pieces. And they're trying to do this year on this kind of holistic examination of the calendar. They're trying to take all the pieces and sort of map out a good calendar that makes sense. And so I think you look at, there's 5 main things, right? There's signing day, early signing day, where does early signing day go? Does it go anywhere? Does it stay the same? Does it get eliminated, as Greg Sankey suggested it should? What do you do with the portal? When is the portal date? what do you do with week 0? There's a suggestion that you move up the whole regular season in the playoffs so that it's not infringing so much deep in January again on the NFL. So could you move up the whole season as well? Have the semis basically, Matt, on New Year's Day instead of the quarterfinals and move everything up. So there's that conversation as well. And then there's spring practice. Do you eliminate spring practice? Do you have summer workouts? So there's a lot of aspects to it, and they're kind of looking at it all.
Ross Dellenger is with us. You note that in your piece today, which you can read for free at Yahoo, you write, there's good news. The calendar is changing at some point. Can you walk us through what the process is to change this?
Yeah, it varies. Right now, the NCAA Football Oversight Committee, which is a committee made up mostly of power conference administrators and 8 athletic directors, and the Georgia athletic director is kind of taking charge over this, Josh Brooks, and he's sort of leading it. But ultimately, whatever the recommendations come out of this committee, and he will get with a bunch of people, right? He's going to talk to commissioners. He's going to talk to people from other leagues, obviously. He's going to talk to people from the AFCA, the American Football Coaches Association, and the group of high-level coaches will be weighing in on this. And they'll make recommendations to other NCAA committees to sort of approve this and pass this stuff. Now, the buck always stops with the 4 power conference commissioners. That they are the most powerful sort of group. And so in the end, they'll be approving anything or disapproving anything.
A couple more. So let's talk about the power conferences, and chief among them, of course, would be the SEC and the Big Ten. You did talk to Greg Sankey in New Orleans at the Sugar Bowl. What does he want to do? For one, he wants to eliminate early signing day, the early signing period, and move it back to February, move it that way. Because I think for Greg Sankey and for many others, I think the main issue is the congestion, December, January congestion, right? You have all these things happening. Bowl games, early signing day, the portal now opens in January, playoff games, coaching carousel, all these things going on. So how can you alleviate that stress and that congestion? And it's just, you would push back things. So you'd push early signing period back to February. You just have the traditional signing period. So that's what he wants to do. And he probably, though he didn't necessarily come out and say it, I think he's also for a potential later portal in the spring. So that's the start of, I think, what he wants. Okay. If you move the December signing period, what do you do with early enrollees then?
Yes, very good question. I don't know. I don't know. That's one that one person I spoke to, not Greg Sankey, but somebody else I spoke to for the story, mentioned you need a mechanism to control mid-year enrollees, which to me suggests that you need something to stop enrollees from enrolling in mid-year. So could we go back to something where you can't enroll because of the rev share contracts? Remember, Matt, the rev share payments to athletes, these contracts, the rev share year, the cap year, you might say, is from July 1 through June 30th. So it spans the academic calendar. And mid-year enrollees, that causes problems. So do you not have mid-year enrollees? In 5 years, will we be sitting here and there'll be no mid-year enrollees? I don't know. Maybe. It would certainly alleviate some things that we're talking about.
That would certainly be transformative if we get to this whole point.
Well, and keep this in mind, Matt, too. You have mid-year enrollees because you want them during spring practice. Well, what if spring practice doesn't exist and you have summer work instead?
Yeah, that makes sense, right? If you're just talking about going to like an OTA format, which is in, say, the end of May or June, like that, that would actually make sense. Like graduate high school at the end of May and then be on campus instead of for workouts for OTAs or however maybe. Fascinating to see how this may all develop. You also have a really good feature up about Trinidad Chambliss. One thing, if it could, because that's obviously going to be relevant now for the entire SEC. Do you have a guess, Ross, on what the NCAA might do with this whole waiver situation with Trinidad Chambliss? Do you think he's going to play another year?
I wish I had a crystal ball. I don't know. It's the NCAA does these things, rules on a case-by-case basis, and his story is one that is obviously it's an amazing story, rising from D3, but he's requesting an extra year because of sort of like tonsillitis and tonsil surgery. And let's just say I have seen the NCAA deny these waiver requests for things that are similar to that. So if they do not deny it, though, Matt, they will almost certainly be filing a lawsuit to get an injunction in the state of Mississippi from some Mississippi court.
Can't imagine how that's going to go. We'll see. Maybe the Mississippi State judge. Ross Dellenger, by the way, who, congrats are in order, the National Sports Media Association's National Sports Writer of the Year. That was announced yesterday. Congratulations. Well deserved. Very happy for you, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Matt.
Of course. Thanks for the time as always.
Yep. See ya.
All right, bud. That is Ross Dellenger. Get him at Ross Dellenger, Yahoo. Very cool award, man. The National Sports Writer of the Year. How about our guy, Delly, doing big things? The things that happen when we're on air. Let's see. I just got this notification, a push notification. Okay, so Jayce Brown has committed to LSU. Breaking news. Yep, breaking news. There. Jayce Brown, Kansas State wide receiver, the number 3 wide receiver in the portal. He has committed to LSU. So the 3rd wide receiver now to pick the Tigers. They are remaking that room. So after a slow first 48 hours, the commitments are pouring in. LSU up now to 8 additions via the transfer portal. Now Jayce Brown becoming the latest. So now wait on Sam Leavitt and what may happen there. All right, it's after further review. Let me knock out a quick break. I do want to talk. Jordan Reed is a mock draft out there, and we know, obviously knowing now the draft order, the Saints will pick 8th overall. It's an interesting projection there, which just sort of speaks to what possibilities might be out there for the New Orleans. We'll touch on that, and I do want to react a little more to Jayce Brown. We'll do that next at AFR.
AFR.
YourGoodwood.com. YourGoodwood.com. Get to the website. It's a great place to start. We talk about Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Yes, they do ED treatments, but that is just scratching the surface of what they do over at Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness, which is actually part of like this tripod. There's 3 businesses there, all in the same facility on Drusilla. There's Goodwood, which is the men's clinic. There's Unique Physique, which is the GLP-1s, right? So New Year's resolution to lose weight, the GLP-1s, the peptides, people call it the weight loss shot, whatever. Semaglutide, tirzepatide, they have that at Unique Physique. And then Unique Aesthetics and Wellness is the aesthetics clinic where they also have hormone therapy for women, which if you have not ever had your blood drawn and had your hormone levels checked, men, women, it doesn't matter how old you are, it's about how you feel. And sometimes you don't know how bad you feel until you start feeling good again. So go get your blood labs drawn and start that process to feeling like your best self. YourGoodwood.com.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Well, she ain't into cars or pickup trucks, but if it runs like a deer, man, her eyes light up. She thinks my tractor's sexy. It really turns.
Always appreciate our friends over at Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. SunEquip.com, SunEquip.com. Remember, not only tractors and combines, but they got riding mowers, the zero-turn mowers, gators. They got everything. And you do that power washing, pressure washing equipment to hose off your gear. They got you covered over at Sunshine. Visit SunEquip.com. LSU has added another wide receiver via the transfer portal. Jayce Brown at Kansas State committing just a moment ago. If you look at the transfer portal rankings, this is by far the highest rated receiver commitment that LSU's gotten already. Cam Coleman from Auburn is the number 1 receiver in the portal. Ian Strong from Rutgers is number 2. This is in the On3 rankings. And then Jayce Brown, 6'1", 165 is what they have him listed there at On3. Is the number 3 receiver in the portal. going from Kansas State to LSU, a transfer ranking of 91. He is a 4-star in the transfer portal, as you mentioned, the third best receiver, and he was a pillar of consistency during his time at Kansas State. Again, what you notice here is this coaching staff knows exactly what they're looking for at the skill positions. They know what skill set they want. At receiver and running back and tight end and quarterback, it's not just go get the highest rated guy. It's get the guy that best fits what skill set we need. And as it's been explained to me, that Lane Kiffin and Billy Glasscock and that staff, they've put together this whole formula, might be a weird way to say it, but they know there's like a physical attribute, like how tall you are, what your 40 time is, how much can you, like all the combine stats, right? They're looking for that. Then also like productivity and how many years have you played? How many years do you have left? And then when they get you on campus, there's also an evaluation that they do where it's not just about like your size and speed and game film, but then it's about like your football IQ. Is they sort of put you through the testing, and then it's also they measure things like character and how good of a teammate you are. So it's all these things that give them a grade of how they evaluate a player. So they know very specifically what skill set they are looking for. So I know as we talked about it, when all those receivers were leaving, were hitting the portal, and there was a little bit of angst among LSU fans. And kept getting asked, like, why are all these guys leaving? And the point was, well, from jump, Lane thought that they had 2 receivers from Ole Miss coming. We've talked about it. Like a lot of these deals are done, verbally, handshake deals before the portal opens. And the 2 guys I've told you about are Deuce Alexander and Winnie Watkins. Now, I think Watkins might be most likely the only one still coming. I think there's a really good chance Deuce Alexander ends up staying at Ole Miss with Chambliss and Lacey and how that's all gone. Probably a good chance that Watkins still comes, though. But if Lane was starting there, thinking, all right, well, I'm bringing 2 guys that I know, and then there's guys you're targeting in the portal, well, the guys that are on LSU's roster that haven't played, they're not moving up the depth chart. And this is sort of evidence of it. So now, as you look at it today, as opposed to 48 hours ago, like think about what the receiver room looks like now, okay? You've added Jayce Brown, who is the number 3 receiver in the portal. You've added Jackson Harris, who is coming in from Hawaii, who can fly 21 yards a reception. Big play waiting to happen. And then we talked about Trey Brown coming in as well from Old Dominion. Same thing. 6'3" wide receiver, averaging just under 20 yards per catch. You add those guys, so now you've added those 3 wide receivers to this room. There's still the possibility of adding 1 or 2 of the Ole Miss guys. I mean, and then you've got other players visiting, like Trey Wilson from Florida, who's on campus today on his official visit, and they're not done adding at that position. So, yes, it's a complete overhaul of the room, and it would be awesome to see what it would have been like for someone like Teron Francis to stay at LSU and develop. Like, that's the one guy so far that I'm super bummed about, because I'd go watch that guy in fall camp, and he was just mossing people. Like, he made some of the best catches we saw all fall camp, but he was just like the 7th receiver on the depth chart because you had all these veteran guys. Well, all those veteran guys are gone, and now they're bringing in portal guys that fit what the staff wants, and all the guys that were here just weren't going to elevate on the depth chart, so they left. And I get it, and I can appreciate the candor and that approach, which is very transactional from this coaching staff, very much like a professional organization where it's nothing personal. It's just, this is the roster decision we made. There's somebody better they like, they're going to go get them, and that's kind of what they're seeing. But Jayce Brown committing to LSU gives the Tigers 3 receiver commitments. Brown this year at Kansas State played in 10 games. For the Wildcats, 712 yards, 5 touchdowns, averaged 17.4 yards per reception at K-State. So a really productive receiver over his 3 seasons, where he played in 33 games, just under 2,000 receiving yards across 3 seasons, an average of 17.1 yards per reception. So Jayce Brown, the latest portal addition for LSU and the latest receiver to jump aboard with the LSU Tigers. So as you look at it, it's now 8 portal additions, 6 on offense and 2 on defense. The 2 on defense, Stephiylan Green, the defensive tackle from Clemson, Ty Benefield, the safety from Boise State. And then the offensive additions are wide receiver Jackson Harris, running back Racine Guillory, tight end Malachi Thomas, wide receiver Trey Brown, and now wide receiver Jayce Brown are your 6 offensive additions to go along with the 2 defenders. 8 portal additions, and everybody is waiting with bated breath to see what's going to happen with quarterback Sam Leavitt from Arizona State, who, as I understand, is still on his visit to Baton Rouge. It's a multi-day visit. He arrived on Monday around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They went to dinner at Supper Club on Monday evening. The visit continued into today. The thing, if you missed it, I talked about at the beginning, I was told he was blown away by the VR room that LSU has and the plan that they have for him. And for Leavitt, his objective is to be a multi-year player. Wherever he transfers, he's expecting to be there for 2 years, which is interesting. I know that might catch some people off guard, basically, but that's the conversations that they've had, is that wherever he's going, he expects to be there for 2 years unless he ends up being a top 10 to 15 pick in the 2027 draft. So if he has a great season in 26 and is projected top 10, 15 pick, he would go. But other than that, the expectation is that he would be a 2-year guy. So Tigers are all in here on Sam Leavitt. As I understand, they are pushing for his commitment, and they feel like it's close. And so here's hoping they get that done. And the biggest question LSU has in this portal cycle gets answered. If and when it does, we'll certainly let you know here on AFR. We're brought to you by the Williamson Eye Center, 924-2020, 924-2020, 924-2020, or WilliamsonEye.com. That's WilliamsonEye.com for the Williamson Eye Center. Hey, remember, tell you all the time, you want to ditch the contacts and glasses forever? There is a refractive procedure for you. It's 2026, y'all. Ophthalmology has advanced so much. Maybe even 20 years ago, you were told that you're not a candidate for LASIK. Well, there's so many other options now. Maybe it's Evo ICL. ICL stands for implantable contact lens. They implant a contact lens in your eye. And so if you're nearsighted, they can do Evo ICL, and that's a completely reversible procedure as well, by the way. You owe it to yourself. You tired of fumbling for readers, having to get the flashlight on your phone to see the menu in a dark place, or holding the paper really far away from your face because you can't see? Don't live that life. Call the Williamson Eye Center. Get that taken care of. 924-2020, 924-2020, 924-2020, or WilliamsonEye.com. Jordan Reed, real quick, we got to go get to Otterlocks. Jordan Reed has a mock draft up over at ESPN.com, and he's got the Saints with the 8th overall pick going offense, and that's something I want to see him do. I do want to see them get a dynamic, explosive offensive player, and this would qualify, but it's not the position that I would want. He's got the Saints going with Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame, 8th overall. And again, mock drafts, especially mock drafts at the beginning of January, aren't worth the paper they're printed on. But it is sort of an illustration of who might be on the board at that time and what position you might be thinking. So, the Saints obviously need help at running back. They drafted Devin Neal. Alvin Kamara is long in the tooth. He'll be 31 before next season and has struggled to stay healthy. So maybe they do go with the most dynamic running back. I don't think I could justify taking a running back with a top 10 pick. Running backs are a dime a dozen, unless if you're talking about Saquon Barkley. But even still, you can get productivity relatively inexpensively at running back. It would be really tough for me to justify a running back 8th overall. I would much rather see get a big-time receiving target for Tyler Shuck. But you get someone that can help you become more explosive offensively. I'd be here for it. So we'll see. All right, it's after further review. Let me knock out a quick break. When we come back, Jimmy will be here for Otterlocks. It's a Tuesday edition of AFR powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
AFR.
GLO, glowresources.com, glowresources.com, complete employer solutions. That's what you get with our friends over at Glow Resources as we move into 2026, and you're trying to find a way to make your business more productive, and let's just be honest. It's what every business owner is trying to do. How do I make my business more productive, more efficient, more profitable? Well, we all know having the right people in the right seats on the bus is the key. You can't grow your business without having the right people working efficiently within your organization. And if you're struggling to find the right people that will stay, that will maximize productivity, Glow Resources can help. It's literally what they do. Over the course of a year, they conduct some 15,000 personnel interviews. So they know the questions to ask, the boxes to check to make sure you get the exact right person for whatever job you're trying to fill in whatever industry that is. It's Glow Resources. GLO, glowresources.com.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Down the stretch we come. Final segment here on a Tuesday edition of AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. One thing left to do. Find out what we're betting on tonight. Time for Otter Locks.
Otter Locks.
All right, time to win some money.
Presented by Total Maintenance AC Repair. Same-day service means you will never sleep hot. 480-1000. We are Total Maintenance.
I think it's safe to say that I won the bet.
Otter, how are you?
What's up, Matthew? How you doing, buddy?
Awesome. I said, screw it. I was rolling with Randy McKay, and I went heavy on Illinois State last night. Cash that ticket.
Off a really nice run in the FCS playoffs. I think he won all but one. So, yeah. And we rode the Illinois State heartbreaking lose if you dabbled a little bit into the plus 340 money line. I mean, a horrible way to lose the game, but cashed the plus 10.5 very easily. So, and we split into baskets, and had Ohio State up 3 in the ball, and they missed a couple of layups, and it went south from there. But we did get in on that end game at plus 7.5 as Ohio State closed it quickly. Got 5 college basketball games for you tonight. Let's start off in the ACC. Remember that spot play where we picked Louisville against Kentucky? Thought they'd be fired up? I think the Yum Center is going to be fired up against tonight, catching 2 against the Duke Blue Devils. So that's your ACC matchup that tips off in just a little bit at 6 o'clock. One in the Big 12, Court Rush Fade. Central Florida pulled off the big upset. They rushed the court, and now they go to Stillwater, Oklahoma. One of these home teams that is coming off of their conference opening loss. Oklahoma State at home +3 now against Central Florida. That's an add-on. That one was not posted on the website. The other 3, all in the SEC, posted on the website. Got a theme going here. Georgia, after a nice win by 4 against Auburn on Saturday. Florida loses by 2 on the road at Missouri. They come home 0-1 in conference play. Unranked defending champions, 9.5 over the number 18 Georgia Bulldogs. So looking to bounce back there. Tennessee coming off of a loss at Fayetteville against Arkansas. 10.5 at home against Texas. Texas is really weak this year. They have really been struggling. And Auburn, with their road loss, they're 0-1 at home against A&M, if you saw any of the LSU and A&M game. And look, the point guard is very important, obviously, to the LSU team this year. They still almost won at A&M. Auburn minus the 6.5 at home. Home teams, college hoops, as we try and get a handle on this stuff as we get into conference play in all the conferences. 5 of them for you tonight.
Louisville, Oklahoma State, Florida, Tennessee, and Auburn. That's the 5-pack. The one add-on, again, is Oklahoma State. Where are you tomorrow?
We are at Snow's Seafood and Steak at Airline Highway at Highway 74 in Gonzales.
All right. We appreciate it, Otter. Thank you.
Okay, good luck.
All right, be well. Same to you. It is after further review. Love telling you about Evamore, EVAMOR, Evamore.com. Drink Evamore, EVAMOR, Evamore.com. Always got my bottle of Evamore right here on the set with me. By the big 4-packs of 64-ounce. Drink a couple of them a day. You want to stay hydrated, especially when the weather changes, cold and flu going around. One of the best ways to help build your immune system is stay hydrated. You want natural artesian water, a Louisiana product. You want Evamore, EVAMOR. Ask for it by name at local retailers. If you can't find it at a local retailer, ask for it or buy it online at evamore.com. EVAMOR, evamore.com. Thanks for being with us. Remember, you can always email us, tweet us, or text us in the 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. Lots of ways that you can get involved in the show. We will also, as a reminder about the text line, whenever we get breaking news, commitments, etc., I always share it there. So we always have the articles at LouisianaSports.net. We tweet it, share it on all our social medias and things like that as well. But make sure you're locked into the text line as well, because it's a place where I communicate and where I share breaking news and things of that nature. So 396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. All right, just before we get out of here, one more reminder, Relief Windows, reliefwindows.com, energy-efficient replacement windows, beautiful entry doors, hardy plank vinyl siding. They do it all. They do it better than anyone. We always appreciate Brandon Holly and the gang. Listen, a new year, you want to make your home more energy efficient, want to lower your energy bills, want to increase your home's resale value. Who wouldn't want that? Lifetime transferable warranty on labor, material, and glass breakage. They'll never be the cheapest, but they'll always be the best. Just shop and price. Don't call Relief Windows. But you want the best. 288-8138. ReliefWindows.com. See you tomorrow at 3.
AFR.